Hey guys, I'm Ashley from the SLP Toolkit team, and I'm so glad that you can join us for our first ever back to school workshop. So I hope you enjoyed our little intro party, dance and music. I just wanted to give everybody time to log in. It looks like we still have some people joining us. So hopefully they can hop on soon. I'll go ahead and just go over our housekeeping items and just a few intro points before we get started. So first things first, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So I'm Ashley Foreman, and I am born and raised in Alabama. So sorry for my accent. First, everybody from all over the place. So Southern girl, born and raised. You can see a few of my favorite things there on the screen. I was a school-based SLP for 15 years here in Alabama and two of our local school systems. I started using SLP Toolkit in 2017. Fell in love with it, used it for about 4.5 years, and then I joined the Toolkit team officially in 2021. So I was gonna let my teammates, let's see, are you guys here? I can't see you, but I'm wondering if you're here. Risa or Valerie, if you're here, let me know. And I'll definitely share my screen for sure while we're waiting on everybody else to join us. So a few housekeeping items. We will record this session, so don't feel like you have to take tons of notes. We just want this to be a fun time for you to kind of dive into the software, take a look around. We'll help you hopefully get your caseload set up. So you can always log into your Toolkit account today while we're meeting. And we have some great resources to help you once we finish our session today. So that will help you just as a follow-up after we finish our time today. Okay, it looks like we've got a couple of more people joining us. Let's see. Okay. All righty. Okay, I will go ahead and go over the other slides while we're waiting. So next up is my girl Risa, and she should be joining us shortly, but she is born and raised in Virginia, and you can see a few of her favorite things here. She was an SLPA for two years in the school and private practice setting, and she joined our team shortly after I did in 2021. And then last but not least is Valerie, and she is an Arizona girl. You can see some of her favorite things here on the slide. And she is our tenure Toolkit teammate, and she started back in 2019, and she has experience in both schools and private practice as well. All right. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today. So we are going to first start in the caseload tab and kind of look around there and get set up. We're going to do just a really short little crash course in scheduling. We are going to take a look at some helpful reports and then a little bit of lesson planning. And that's going to also tie into one of our freebies that we're going to send you at the end. And then we have a Q&A at the end, but honestly, you can ask questions anytime with the Q&A button. You'll see it at the very bottom. You should see it in your toolkit, not toolkit, your Zoom bar. So feel free to ask any questions and I'll be happy to answer those as we go along. And then last but not least, we'll send you those freebies. So we'll go ahead and dive in. Let me see if we've got any other peeps who have joined us. Let's see. Okay. All righty. We'll go ahead and get started. Okay, let me check on my two teammates. Let's see here. Let me let her know to sign in. All right, so hopefully they can hop on here shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and share my Toolkit screen. So if you guys want to sign into your Toolkit account now, feel free. All right, so you can see that I've already got some Toolkit caseload info here, but obviously if you're brand new, we are going to get you all set up. So the quickest way to get your caseload into SLP Toolkit is using something called a spreadsheet file or a CSV file. This is a file that would work in programs like Numbers, Google Sheets, or Excel. And if you don't have a spreadsheet file, no worries. What you can do is log into your special ed software, whatever you use in your district to write your IEPs. And hopefully there's an option, in your desktop option or your settings to export your caseload. Typically, if there's an export option, it will either automatically export it into a CSV file, or it might give you that option. And once you get the CSV file, you're ready to go. If you're not really sure how to do that, my suggestion would be to reach out to your team lead at your school, or if you have an SLP lead or a SPED lead, or even a tech person. If you have a kind of a tech savvy person in your building, see if one of those people can help you track down a CSV file. It'll save you a ton of time in the long run, and you can import your whole caseload within just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to show you how that works. So once you get that magical spreadsheet file, you're going to go to the Actions button. There's an Actions button on every page in SLP Toolkit. Anytime you want to make a change or do something, you're always going to navigate to that Actions button. So we're going to go there first. We're going to choose Import Caseload, and then choose File. And like I said, don't feel like you have to memorize these steps because we have them for you in your freebies. So I'm going to find my CSV. You can see it right here as an example. I'm going to open it up. And it's going to ask me a question at the bottom. It says, is the first row of your file a student row or a header row? So here's my first row right here, and it's a header row. So I'm going to choose that. That just helps Toolkit know how to organize your caseload for you. All right. And so now the only other step that you have to do is match your headers right here with the Toolkit headers to make sure that they match up and that they're the same. That just makes everything a whole lot easier and make more sense. So I've already got first, last name, date of birth is good. So right here I have school, but the Toolkit header says eval due date. So I'm going to change it to where they both say school. And you'll see some pink columns as you go along. Don't worry about those till the end. That's just if something doesn't match up, it's going to show you with a pink column. So let me do a couple more. I won't do the whole thing, but you can kind of get the idea of how it would work. Now, let's say that there is a column and there's not a choice for it. Student ID is on here. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything that's not included. Let me look. I feel like email address, maybe. Yeah, I think this is it. Let me look. Well, for anyone that you see that there's not an option here, what you can do is either add it to your notes column, which a lot of people like to do, or you can just skip that column if you're just not really sure where you want it, or if you don't need it, if it's just some random information. So once you match up all of your column headers, the pink columns will go away. They'll all be white. And then it is going to, this blue import button at the bottom right won't be grayed out. You can actually click it, and it's going to import all of this information into your caseload. The main benefit of importing your caseload, in case you're wondering, why do I need it in here? The best part about that is anything that you add here on this page is going to auto-populate to all the other headers or pages at the top. So you can pull this information on in the other features. There's also a really cool report that I'm going to show you in a few minutes that pulls from this page as well. So even if you don't have time to add your caseload or track down that CSV file, what I would recommend is at least adding your students' first and last names, and also their IEP due date and their eval due date. Eval due date is either, you might call it an MET or a 3-year reevaluation, whatever you call it, that's what that is. So those magical dates, I would put those in when you do have time, and you'll see in a few minutes why that's so helpful. So it looks like we've got a question. Okay. Yes, so Debbie asked if the chat was available for this presentation. Yes. How do sorry, I'm doing this all answering thing. Okay, so Debbie, so for chat, I think you're just going to add it to the Q&A section. Let me see. I think the chat should be working. Let me send you guys a message. Let me send that to everybody. Y'all can let me know. Okay, so if the chat is working, if y'all give me a thumbs up, and that'll help us know. Okay, so I think we're good. Looks like on the chat, possibly. So yeah, Debbie, try the chat. You can also click on Q&A at the bottom as well if you want to ask questions. So hopefully either one will work. Okay. Looks like we've got some other people here. We're so glad y'all are here. Okay, let's see. There's Miss Valerie. Okay. And then there's Miss Risa. Okay. All right, y'all. So there's a couple of other things I want to show you. There's Valerie. And I think Risa should pop up here in a second. Let's see. There they are. I gotta have my peeps. Okay, they may decide they want to hide, but there's Risa and Valerie too. They're gonna help me just make sure I cover everything. There's Risa. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
All right. Sorry about that, Risa. I'm glad you're able to sign in. You gotta love Zoom. Zoom's not my favorite, y'all. I'm still learning. So I'm sorry if it was something that I did. So caseload, we kind of looked at how to import a caseload with a CSV file. And then there's two other things I want to show you guys today. The first one is how you can organize your caseload. So let's say that you want to organize it, just, alphabetize it by last name, whatever header row you click on, that is how it's going to organize your caseload. So for example, I want to, alphabetize A to Z by last name. I can do it that way. Some people like to organize by their school name. If you've got multiple schools that you travel to and you kind of want to chunk those together, you can click on the school header and you can see it's going to organize those together. Other people might organize by teacher or grade. I actually like to organize by IEP due date because it kind of helped me stay on track as far as who was due next. So that's an option as well. Okay, let's take a look at Q&A. Oh, it says, okay. It says chat is disabled. Let me look at it. Sorry if, I don't know. Risa and Valerie, are you able to access the chat? Will you let me know? Let me look at settings. Yeah, it looks like it's turned on. Just let me know if you're not able to.
Yeah, sorry everyone. It looks like in our settings, the attendees can't chat. They can see the chats, but they can't see the chat. So we'll try to work on that while you keep going.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Valerie, see if it'll let you go into the settings, like in the webinar where I scheduled it, and turn on. I'm sorry, y'all. Clearly, I need a Zoom manual. Okay. Good question. Dorothy asked, can you organize by both school and last name? Unfortunately, not at this time. You can only organize by one specific column or header, but that is definitely something people have asked about. So I guess you'd really have to pick whichever one is probably more, higher priority, but that's a great question. But we can definitely add that. We have a feedback board where we add suggestions, so we can definitely add that there. So I hope that makes sense. All right, good questions. Okay, the other thing I want to show you in Caseload is how you can hide columns that you just don't want to see or you don't need. So to do that, you go back to your actions button And then this time you're going to choose customize caseload fields. So anything that has the box checked is going to show. Anything that's unchecked, it will hide the column. Even if you have, information there, it's just going to hide it in case you don't want to see it. So let's say I want to get rid of eligibility, save, and it's just going to hide those particular columns, especially if you just only want a few things to show. If you want it a little less busy, you could choose that option. Okay, let me know what questions you have about the caseload tab, how to add students, how to organize students. You can add those in the Q&A. Sorry about the chat, y'all. I'm learning every day. All right, we'll go ahead for now and move on to the big bear. Oh, Dorothy raised her hand. Yes, ma'am. Did you have a question for me? See if it'll let you add it in the Q&A. Great question. Ava asked, Ava is my daughter's name. I love that name, by the way, it's beautiful. Ava asked how to delete students. So let me show you how to do that. So let's say I don't want Johnny Be Good right here. Either it's a duplicate or I just end up not having that student. You're going to check the box beside their name. You're going to go to your actions button. And then first you have to archive them. So it's a two-step process. So first I'm going to archive the student. I'm going to archive my one student. That just moves them off of your active caseload. And then you're going to go back to actions and you're going to show archive students. Now, you can either just leave the student archived if you think you might come back to him later, or if you're just completely done with that student. I think I've got it. Is he all the way at the bottom? No, where is he? There we go. He is, you can see I've got a lot of archive students. Okay. He's somewhere. Oh, I've lost him clearly, but you can just, if you really want to delete him forever, you can check the box again, go to actions, and then delete. So first you can archive, then you can delete. But if it's a student that you might see, and at some point again in the future, you might keep it. I was kind of paranoid about deleting students unless I just didn't do anything with them. So that's completely up to you. Good question. Okay. Let me see if do I need to let anybody in? Are we good? Okay. All right. Let's see what other questions we have. Dorothy asked, once a tab is hidden, does it hide it in scheduling and students tabs? It's only on the caseload tab. So it'll still auto-populate to the other pages. You can still see it, in other features. That's a great question. It just hides it on the caseload tab. It's really just kind of a personal preference. So I hope that makes sense. And then the other question from Debbie is, are service minutes a set drop-down menu, or can you add multiple types of services? Great question. So let's take a look at that real quick. So let me go back to my active caseload. All right, so right here, she's talking about IEP service time. You can really add whatever number in whatever way works for you. This is really about how you put your service minutes in your IEPs. So this could be minutes per week, minutes per month, per quarter. You can put how many, you can see, for example, the first student, I have 60 minutes 2 times a week. Whereas, other people might just put the number of minutes down here that just says 30. You can also, add consult. You can put if it's direct, really whatever's going to help you with scheduling or, making sure your student gets all their services. That's what you can add here, but you can really, there's not a drop down. It's just to type in whatever their service minutes are. Now, when we look at scheduling, there is a drop down option, but for your purposes here, I would just put whatever's in their IEP that makes sense to you. So I hope that makes sense. Great questions. Okay, perfect. All right. And we can always come back to caseload if y'all think of questions, as we go along. All right. So next we're going to take a look at scheduling the bear. This was always my least favorite part of our job. But hopefully Toolkit can make it a little less painless. So the first thing that I want to show you is just how to create a blank schedule. Even if most of you have probably not started school yet, I know we haven't, but if you just want to kind of have a blank schedule that you can then add your students to later, you could go ahead and set that up now. So you're going to go to the daily data tab, and on the left side in the middle, it says schedules. You're going to click on this blue plus sign, and you can go ahead and do that now if you're in your Toolkit account. Give your schedule a name. Some people, name it their school name or the school year. It's really whatever makes the most sense to you. You're going to pick a color scheme. It will automatically do therapy type, but you can also color code your students by their teacher's name, their school, all the things. I'm just going to stick with therapy for now. Go ahead and put in your start and end times, and then put in tentative start dates. You can always change this later if you're not exactly sure when you might start to see your students, or you could just do this first day of school as well. And once you add those start and end dates, it's going to give you a school calendar on the right side. Every green block is an active school day. So if there are any weeks that you're going to be out of school for holidays or school breaks, you can go ahead and plug those in if you want, or you can add them later. So for example, if you have a fall break, you can check the box beside that week, and it's going to gray that week out, which means the scheduler won't schedule your students that week. You could also do that for Thanksgiving or Christmas, spring break. So that's just a quick way to, save a little time on the front end. You'll also see there's question marks beside each field that we just entered. So you can always hover over those to get more info on what each one means. And I'll go ahead and create the schedule. So you can see I just have a blank slate, a clean slate to start with to schedule my students. And there are two different ways that you can schedule students. So I'm going to close that up here. So the first option to add your students is if you just want to add one session, or maybe you want to create your schedule with pencil and paper and then add it in later to Toolkit, you can do that. I was always a big sticky note girl forever. That was like my jam. So if you're a sticky note girl, you could do it this way. So you're going to find your first day of therapy in the calendar. So let's say we're going to start on the 7th. And I've already got a couple of kids here. Let's say I want an 11 o'clock session. I'm going to right click my mouse. I'm going to click new therapy session. And then this is another great reason to add your caseload, another plug for the caseload tab. Once you add them in, they're going to show up in this drop down. So then I can add as many students as I need to for my group. We'll do a little group there. And then if you just want it to be a one-time session, you're going to click create event. If you want it to repeat every Monday at 11, you can click the box to schedule it ongoing. So I'm going to add it to my new schedule. Let's see if I can find out. Should be in here. Oops. I should add it to that one. And I want it on Mondays. All right. So here's my little group. So it'll schedule it for today and then every other Monday. There it is. So that's one way to schedule your sessions. Another option, if you want to kind of knock it out all at once, or if you want to try our scheduling feature to help you create a schedule, then you can open the schedule. You just click on the name. You can see I've added a few groups here to my previous schedule. And to add your students, you're going to follow 2 steps. The first one is you are going to add service times for each student. So let me show you what that means. I'm going to click on the very first student in the dropdown. And you can see that he has 60 minutes direct services and 10 minutes consult. So underneath that, where it says service times, I'm going to click the plus sign to add some sessions. I think I want to break the 60 minutes into 2 30-minute sessions. And then I also need to add the consult. So it's going to automatically show 30 minutes. I think that may be related to what Debbie was asking earlier. I think Debbie had asked that, but you can change it to any number that you need. So if you have 5-minute art kids, if you have 15-minute consult services, you can change the minutes to whatever you need them to be. So I've got all the minutes for that student. So then I would do the minutes for the next student. So that one's easy. It's just 2 times a week for 30 minutes. I'm going to do one more. He's 60 minutes a week. Let's say I just want to get it all at one time. Okay. So once you add all, that's the first step, adding your student service minutes. So let me pause because we've got some questions. I know scheduling, there's a lot. So Morgan asked, can you select individual dates on the schedule if you don't work that day, or does it only allow you to select a whole week? Great question. So let's look at that. All right, so I guess I didn't have to close out, did I? Let me open. So this is the schedule that we created just a minute ago. Actually, I think this is my old one, but whatever. So she asked, can you gray out just individual days instead of an entire week? And the only way you could do that is if you have a rotating schedule. A rotating schedule would be, for example, a 6-day schedule where, you know, the groups are kind of carrying over and changing week to week. That is a highly requested feature. And I believe it will be available in something new that we have coming out that I will show you at the end of our work session. So stay tuned. So for right now, if you just have a traditional schedule, you can only gray out entire weeks unless it's rotating. If it's rotating, you check this box. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but I hope that that makes sense. Great question. And then the other question we had, oh, did it go away? Hold on.
Sorry, I answered it, but we have a question from Kristen about how to add your own color scheme if you want to show her the custom scheme.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So some people like to make their own pretty color scheme for their students. So you actually, I know it's a little funny, you don't do it in the scheduler, you do it in the caseload tab where you added all your students. So you're going to go back to your actions button and you're going to go to the second option, which is manage color schemes. All right, so this is where you can make your own. Let me move my little video here so you can see. Okay, well, I didn't. Okay, so you're going to go to actions. And if you want to create a brand new one, click new color scheme. You can give it a name. So let's say, what should I name it? I'm just giving it something specific, but you could give it a school name, you know, whatever floats your boat. And then you're going to choose how you want to group it. So here's an option. You could group, we haven't looked at tags yet, but tags are just descriptors for different students. So if you wanted just a totally different way to group them, you could group them by tags. You could group them by, you know, their teacher name, types of therapy. Let me show you what those look like. So I already had my teachers plugged in, so it just kind of shows what that would look like. You can change the colors if you want them to be some kind of beautiful menagerie of colors. You can do that here as well. Types of therapy would look like that. And then I have all kinds of random tags in here. But you could group by goal area, would be kind of a cool way to do it. Maybe consult, things like that. Great question on that. Let's see here. Okay, thank you for answering those in the chat. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to go ahead and mark them. That way I can keep track of who's asked what. Okay, Belinda asked, if you follow a 3-to-1 model, how do you work through that? Great question, Belinda. Let me show you. So we're going to hop back over to daily data and open our schedule again. And then if you ever want to edit your calendar or your schedule details, just go back to your magical actions button and then edit. Okay, so if you follow a 3-to-1 model, let's say that you start, I'm going to take these off. Let's say that you start the first week of August, for example, with your students. So the first 3 weeks, you would see students. And then the last week would be, the third week would, no, the last week, I had it right the first time. The very last week would be your indirect consult, evaluation, meeting, whatever you do for that indirect week. I would uncheck the box because you wouldn't probably follow your typical therapy schedule. And then I'll show you how you can add, other notes and things for that particular week. But then I would count 3 weeks again, uncheck the 4th week, and I would just do that for the school schedule. Make sure you keep in mind your holiday weeks, just so it doesn't mess up, your rotation. But that way it's not going to show, you pulling kids for that indirect week. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And then, and Valerie, feel free to type in these too. I'm just marking them so I can keep track. Okay, cool. All righty. So the other thing I wanted to show you with scheduling real quick is, so we looked at how to add their service times. So once you've added all their services from their IEPs, we were in students. Now we're going to hop over to the second tab at the top called service times. This is where the magic happens. So you can either just start clicking and dragging. If you've already created a schedule on paper and you know where you want your kiddos to go, you can just start putting them wherever they're supposed to be, making your schedule as you go. You can always move them around. It's kind of like Tetris, only better. Another option is you can search for different commonalities of your students with the filter box. So you could search, let's say, if you want to see all your 3rd grade peeps, you could choose 3rd grade from the filter box, and it's going to show you everyone from that grade. You could also search, by student, by teacher. I don't think I have many in that class. So we have many. So these students are all in the same class. And if you find, a group of students that you want to schedule at the same time, what you can do is highlight, a day and a time, for example, Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And then you've got your students listed here. You can click schedule, and it's going to add some of your students from the group over here. Whoops. And then I'm going to clear that out. Let's say that I want to pull a 2nd grade group. No, it's just one. Let's do 4th grade. There we go. It's all the same. I think I have more in the higher grades. Let's see if kindergarten gives us now. Okay. Anyway, you can search by different grades, different teacher names. You can also add other tags that I mentioned earlier for times to pull. I use this especially with secondary students because they are so hard to schedule. So you can see I've got all different, if I could pull them at lunch, if they were younger, maybe push in during circle time, choir was a popular time, things like that. You could also search, by other tags as well. And it's going to show you the ones you could schedule and the ones you've already scheduled that match that particular filter. There's a fabulous video that explains this much better than I have that is in your checklist that you can watch, and it will just kind of walk you through step by step how you can use the scheduler and the filters. Okay. I know that was a little bit of a rabbit trail, but bear with me because scheduling, it's very specific to each person. So if you ever get stuck on scheduling, you can always reach out to us. You can click this white question mark in the top right corner of your account, and you can send us a quick direct message in real time. You can email us if you're short on time. You can also explore the knowledge base, and there's several scheduling articles here at the top that you can take a look at. So always reach out. We're happy to help, especially if you have like a rotating schedule, 3-to-1 schedule, all those very special, specific schedules. Okay, feel free to drop other questions that you have about scheduling in the Q&A. Valerie, did I mess up on the chat? I think I did. Will it not let us add since we've already started?
Yeah, sorry we couldn't figure out the chat.
Was there a box that I needed to check? Is that?
I think as a host, you might have access in the chat if you click on the chat icon and there's like 3 horizontal dots. It might have you or let you see the settings, but we aren't able to get it on our end.
So sorry. I can chat with oh, okay. All right, y'all.
Or maybe it doesn't.
Tried that. I just updated it. Let me know if you're able to chat. I'll figure it out. I need like a Zoom 101 class for myself. Okay, looks like we've got some other questions working. Yay. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, Valerie. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get it. Okay, so any other things, feel free to drop it in the Q&A. If you just have comments, feel free to drop that in the chat box. Okay, so we're going to move on to reports. So that's located over here. Let me clear what I had. So there's a few reports that can really help you get started for the school year. The first one over on the left side is the IEP MET dates. That was why I mentioned earlier, it's a great idea to put in your IEP due dates, your eval due dates, because then you can print this awesome, just one pager with all your dates. I love to print this, and I would put it, if I had like a planner or a binder, I'd put it in there, or even up at my desk, like where people couldn't see it or whatever, just for me. But it will show you what IEPs are due each month. That kind of helps with if you have like a really busy, crazy month, you'll know ahead of time. It'll also show your evals that are due. I need to update my date, so they're not shown on here. But that's just a great resource. And then there's 2 other ones that can help you communicate with teachers. The first one is teacher preferred times. So if you've got your teacher names plugged in, you can choose select all and generate report. And it's going to create a just template letter that you can print out, or you can copy and paste it into an email to send to each teacher. It's going to show the students that you see in their class, and then it's going to ask for their preferred days and times that you could possibly pull them. This is great for preschool and elementary school, just to go ahead on the front end and find out, when they don't want you to pull them. Although I felt like everybody wanted to be pulled at like 9 or 9:30. I don't know about y'all. That was like the most popular time of the whole day. So that's just a great little resource for you. And then there's also one called Teachers Student Schedule. This is one of my favorites. So once you have put your student speech sessions into Toolkit, as we looked at with the scheduling feature, it will then auto-populate a template letter for each teacher, has their name, speech therapy schedule at the top, and then it's going to have each student and their days and times. What I love about this is, even if you see, sometimes you do have to pull students from the same class at different days and times if they're working on different goals, if they're also pulled by other, IEP team members, things like that. It doesn't have to be all cookie cutter. It can be different. So you can see, we've got a frequent flyer here at the top, a couple of lunch bunchers, some that are kind of mid-morning. And then you can either print this and handwrite your start date, or you could use a markup tool like Cami to, type or write that in, put your pretty signature, and then you can either, put this in their box, or you can copy and paste it into an email to a teacher. Okay, so let's look here. Oh, that's chat. Just kidding. Oh, did I miss? Let me see what the chat said. Okay. All righty. Yes, Debbie's right. Debbie was just saying this, it's a good feature to have when things change later in the year. I think she was talking about scheduling probably with that. Okay, let me know. There's lots of other reports, but to me, those are the most helpful for back to school first thing, when you come back. So let me know if you have questions about those reports. And then we're going to look at one other feature today, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for other questions that you might have. So the other feature that we're going to take a look at is lesson planning. And there's two things I want to show you here. The first one is how to access pre-made literacy lesson plans you can use anytime. The second thing I want to show you is how to add a plan that we're going to share with you in just a few minutes. So first things first, you're going to click on the pink Add a New Plan button. And this time you're going to choose from template, the second option. So this is going to open up our lesson plan library. There's lots of different lesson plans here created just for you. You can search by a particular title, book title, or article that you're looking for. You can also search by category. There's a couple that are super cute for back to school. The first one is How I Spent My Summer Vacation. It's for kindergarten through sixth grade, so it targets a lot of different ages. There's a book walk you can use here and some questions. And then if you want to just take a look at what's included, just scroll down with your mouse and you'll see all the different, targets, questions, vocabulary, things like that. If you like that plan and you want to use it, click Use This Plan, and it's going to open it and save it. So the next time you go to your plan tab, it will be there in your list of lesson plans. And you can use these during your sessions. You can print a copy if you just want to have, your basic notes in front of you. You can always print a copy of that. And you can add as many lesson plans as you want to. You can create your own as well if you have some tried and true, things that you like to target with your groups. And then if you want to add a plan, such as the one we're going to share with you, I'm going to show you how to do that. So first, let me show you kind of what one of those files looks like. So let me move my camera here. There we go. Okay. If it's going to let me. Well, let's see. Okay. Here we go. So the lesson plan files for Toolkit they end with TKJP, that they're just a special lesson plan file just for Toolkit. So if you wonder what that is, it's just a lesson plan file. So this is one that we'll share with you shortly. So you just double click it and click download. It's going to save it to your computer. You can see it right here. And then when you're in your Toolkit account, you're going to click the pink Add a New Plan again. This time you're going to upload a plan, which is the third option. You're going to choose a file. And then here is my beautiful back to school lesson plan file. So you're going to wait for it to load and then click import. And it may take it a minute, but it will import it into your Toolkit account. And I love this particular lesson plan. It's ready to go. There's no prep. It's just as soon as you download it, you're ready to go with your students. But it's a great lesson plan just to get started with your first session, your first therapy session of the school year. So we hope that you enjoy that lesson plan. And let me know if you have questions. We're not going to get super specific into the lesson planning today, but there's a whole course that you can watch for free. So I'll show you those resources in just a second. Okay. So Dorothy said she hasn't used the plan feature before. Yes, try it out if you have time, Dorothy, especially with those pre-made lesson plans. If you don't have time to lesson plan, just use the ones that have already been created. It can save so much time because you have, so much paperwork with IEPs, reevaluations, referrals, especially at the beginning of the school year. So let Toolkit work for you and try out those lesson plans. Okay, so a few just quick little housekeeping things, I guess, and then I'll share those freebies in the chat. So I already showed you with the white question mark how you can reach out or check out the knowledge base. There's also a website that has some free toolkit courses. So I was going to show you that just real quick. It's called bethebrightest.com. And if you click on courses in the top left corner, there's summer camp since you're toolkit besties now. So those are available. They're actually free to you. You just type in your toolkit credentials, but there's also at the very bottom some other toolkit courses. So there's Getting Started, which is a lot of what we went over today, just with more detail. There's Streamlining Teletherapy. There's one just on lesson planning, to plan or not to plan. There's one on an apraxia screening and one on making your IEP meetings amazing. These are free year-round. You can also earn ASHA CEUs if you need some. Who doesn't? So check those out when you have a chance. I'll put that link in the chat. You can just bookmark it, excuse me, if you don't have it. Okay, so Debbie asked about importing plans from other places like Teachers Pay Teachers. So what you would need to do is create a lesson plan and then just copy paste whatever, if there's like a PDF that you have from Teachers Pay Teachers. So let's go back to our plan tab. So you could add a new plan. Let's say we're going to create it from scratch. And then you can name it, whatever. And then under the first step, you could always either link it. I think you can do that from Teachers to Pay Teachers, or if you just wanted to add, images, you could add those here. You could add the PDF from Teachers Pay Teachers. I don't know if I have one saved. Let me see. There's one. So I could just add my PDF into the lesson plan from Teacher Pay Teachers. I hope that makes sense. So you can't see it in the preview, but once you open it in a session, it would show the images. Let me know if that makes sense. If you have other questions. Okay. Okay, and Valerie is following up on importing plans. Valerie, let me know if there's other ways for users to do that other than just creating one from scratch. Okay.
I think Ashley,
yeah, what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I think what you said is probably the best. And then also just you can link it within the session itself too, if that's a little bit easier. It's just what I was going to mention.
That's a really good point too. Yeah, so you could just type in your link, copy paste it. Slash, and then, whatever the rest of the hyperlink, and then you can highlight it and then just make it a link. So then you could just click to it. So great point, Risa. That would be another option as well. Okay. All righty. Okay, those are the only ones that I see from the chat. Y'all let me know if there's other questions that you have for any of the features that we've looked at today before we wrap up. I'll go ahead and go back to our slideshow. Okay, so before we do the freebies, we have to show you one more thing. I know someone had asked at the beginning about particular features, such as sorting things in the caseload by 2 fields and things like that. So we want you to meet Kit, your new work bestie, who will be coming soon in the coming school year. And this is a new product from the creators of SLP Toolkit, and it's actually designed for the entire IEP team. So instead of just SLPs primarily using Toolkit, for example, Kit could be used by your whole team, SLP, OT, PT, SPED. And if you're interested in looking into that or trying it when our beta version comes out, you can go to whatsupkit.com and just enter your email address and you'll get info once that goes live. So I'll put that here in the chat as well. So we just wanted to mention that. So that may have some features in the future that you're looking for. Let's see here. Okay, Ava had a question about setting up data sheets. Let's see here. I can show you how to do, I think, let me know in the chat, Ava, if you're talking about paper data sheets, or if you want to look at, I'm assuming paper data sheets, but just let me know. Let's see here. Okay, let me show you one more thing related to what Dorothy asked to paper data sheets. Okay, so we've got 2 questions. Let me show you all those. The first question is how to set up paper data sheets. Obviously, not everybody is, ready to just dive into digital data. It can be a bit of a learning curve. So if you want to start off with paper data sheets, first, you need to add goals. So those are housed in the Students tab. And just make sure each student is listed in the drop down. And you're going to go to number 4, goals. And you just need to add each goal here. You can either type them in, you can copy and paste them from the IEP. And then once you have your goals added, you can either, if you want to print it for just that one student, you can click the printer icon. Or if you've done goals for everyone and you want to print them at one time, you can go to the Reports tab and go to Data Collection Sheets. And you can see the student doesn't have a goal. Womp womp, that's my fault. So that's why you just want to make sure you plug in your goals and your IEP dates here. And then it's going to do the rest for you. These are great for student interns, if you have a grad student who's going to be with you, if you see students that are a little handsy and you can't really have your device out, you could do paper data sheets. I did that when I pushed into one of our classrooms. So, you can definitely use data sheets as well. So I hope that helps, Ava. And then the other question, let's see. Oh, it was in the chat. The other question was from Dorothy on how to update your caseload if you're continuing students. Okay. So year to year, let's say you've already added your caseload and it's a new school year. The only thing that's going to update on its own is the school year, which it already has for the school year. So you will need to update, IEP due dates, eval dates, even their grade as they move up. Obviously, their date of birth won't change. You might want to, update their teacher's name. I don't know if that's exactly what you're thinking about, Dorothy, but you would need to, manually update those things. But at least some of the basic stuff would already be in there. And then the only other thing you would need to do would maybe be to update goals for the next school year. Let's see here. Okay, so in the chat, Valerie shared a tool tip on how to update your students' information in your caseload. Yeah, manually is the way to go for sure. But, there may be features like that possibly in Kit. You have to wait and see what kind of exciting things may be included in that program as well. Okay, I am going to go ahead and share those freebies with y'all. Right here. Okay. So we've got a bit.ly link and it's going to just open a folder, a Google Drive folder where everything is located. So once you open that bit.ly link, I would bookmark it to your device or just save it somewhere so you can refer back to it. And in that folder, you're going to find a couple of different things. Make sure I have everything up to date. Okay, so you're going to find that lesson plan file that we talked about earlier, that one you just download, and then you're going to import it into your Toolkit account. There is a back to school checklist with everything that we just went over. It's clickable, and it's got embedded links and videos for you there. There's also an end of the school year checklist to wrap things up, and then just a preview of that awesome lesson plan. So we hope that those will be helpful. And let me see if there's anything else in the chat. Okay, Belinda asked if you're using a new CS Viola at the beginning of the year. Now, you can import new students each year, but we would only recommend importing brand new students. If you already have a student in your Toolkit account, if you import them again, it's going to make a duplicate file, which will get super confusing. So we would only recommend importing brand new students. And then for returning students, you would just want to manually update, the dates and the teacher name and all that stuff. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Okay, y'all. We hope this was helpful. This is our first time to do something like this. I appreciate your patience as we work through the Zoom settings. I apologize about the chat. Okay, it looks like Valerie asked, what is the website we should bookmark for the free toolkit materials? It's the bit.ly link. I'll paste it one more time. So it's bit.ly/TK summer freebies. So just click on that on your device and then just bookmark that and you should be good to go. And if you have a Google account, it should show up in your Google Drive folder under shared with me. So you can see it there as well. Okay, you guys. I think that's it. Reese and Valerie, let me know if I forgot anything. I know I kind of went fast. Let me know. Okay, y'all. All right, we'll go ahead and hop off for now, and we will send you a recording of our demo shortly. Feel free to email us if you need us, and we hope that you have an awesome school year. Y'all take care.